Just Eff It.
Hi, I'm Romy, an identity coach helping others who struggle with their sexual identity and families of queer youth find their path of understanding and acceptance.
And I'm Carla, a mom empowerment coach empowering moms to own their new identities and motherhood journeys.
And together we are the EFFing Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Momradery Mondays.
Motivation Monday.
Mompreneur Mondays.
What's the one you came up with?
Momradery Mondays. Yeah.
Thank you.
We got now that it's a new season. I'm gonna have to go to the dictionary and look up some new words that we can rhyme.
Yeah, we're gonna need some new ones here for sure.
Mama Mondays.
New ones. Mama Mondays. Madre Mondays.
There we go. Mama Mondays, Madre Mondays, whatever. Okay. Anyway, guys.
Okay. We are the EFFing Madres. I'm Romy. This is Carla. 2 moms, 2 Latinas, 2 friends, 2 sisters from another mister and another mama. And we come here every Monday and we talk to other moms who've had inspiring fuck it moments, Eff it moments, because that's how this podcast was created, through our own personal Eff it moment. And we are inspired when other women, other moms share these big changes that they made in their life as mothers. That's a whole new season of our life, right? So they're
because it's one thing to make a big change when you're single and you don't have any kids, but like once you have a family, it's a very daunting thing to take on, to be like, I'm not aligned with what's right. I need to make a huge change and actually take those steps. It's very scary and has an impact on not just you, but everybody else. So that's why we thought it'd be so motivating to hear stories from moms who have done this, because it is incredibly a scary thing to do. So hope that it encourages other moms, other women out there to take that first step, because it is always the scariest thing to do.
Yes, and we have two mamas on today that really effing put their story out there and did some big, massive changes with not just like one kid, but how many kids, Carla?
7 kids. 7. So we got nothing to complain about.
Nothing. Never again.
Yeah.
We've got Lena and Sel, and they are 2 amazing mamas that shared their story on Hulu's Mormon No More. And we are so excited that they have given us time to talk with them and share their story and hear a little bit deeper about what that looked, and listen a little bit deeper about what that Eff It moment looked like. So I'm so excited to talk to them. I've been excited to have this interview.
Yeah. And from the episode that I watched, their love story is so sweet. They're so in love with each other. And it's just such a nice,
really
it's so nice that I'm not going to ruin it for anybody that wants to watch the show, but like it is a definitely a very heartfelt, but also very emotional thing that they went through, because they had to walk away from established religion. And we all know that that's obviously looked frowned upon when you divorce and then you marry someone of the same sex. So, yeah, I'm very excited to talk to them and see how that journey was for them. All right, we're going to bring them in. Okay, everyone, we have Sal and Lena here joining us. We're super excited to jump into this interview with you guys. So
happy to be here.
Yes, we're so happy to have you guys. And what was your biggest Eff It moment since becoming moms?
Me? I mean, I think that it goes without saying from our documentary that we both just, discovered our sexuality later in life, and in the confines of an organized religion like Mormonism, that's very high demand, and there's a lot of strict code of conduct, if you will, that we didn't have any opportunity to figure that out before our 30s. And so seeing her in our kids' like school parking lot for the first time, it was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I think that was the beginning of my Eff It moment, because I felt it in my gut that there was something inside of me that hadn't been tapped before. Like it was a visceral reaction in my body that I experienced that I hadn't experienced in any other relationship I'd been in, heterosexual relationships. And so there was just something about her presence and her energy that I was like, what the fuck is this? And I think it was just the beginning of that unraveling for sure. And then eventually we became mom friends and the sparks were flying.
Yeah, I definitely had the moment of realization that something was off when we became mom friends. Not, I mean, something was very right. Actually, it just was like, but wait, this doesn't make sense. So we went camping together as family friends. So like with our husbands and kids, and we spent like 3 days together. And when I got home from that camping trip, I promised myself I was gonna like give her some space, because it's kind of weird to like, you know, text your friend after you just got home from a trip and like say, do you want to hang out again? Like, it's like, I don't want to be that friend. But
Yeah.
once I put those boundaries on myself, I found myself saying, oh, well, now I can't stop thinking about her. Now this is something different than a normal friend. And so once I let myself understand what was really happening, it was kind of like there was no going back from there. And the quote from Glennon Doyle from Untamed that I always come back to with the kids is she was looking at her daughter saying to herself, I'm doing this for her, like I'm staying in my marriage for her, but would I want this for her? And I never planned on being a divorced parent. I didn't even know anybody that was divorced growing up. I that wasn't really in my mind, my framework at all, culturally, or my parents are still together. And so it was really hard. The mom guilt was the scariest part for me of this transition. But I really had to choose myself.
Yeah.
You both sound like, I mean, your F it moment was like having that feeling that you're talking about, with each other, knowing that something feels different, right? Something is pulling you, gravitating you guys just organically to one another. And we talk about it all the time. You got to listen. You got to listen to that's that F it moment that's in you. Like, are you going to do this? What are you going to do? Are you going to change your whole life? Are you going to follow this? Are you not? And I think we talk about this all the time too, the mom guilt, are we failing? Are we messing up? And I love that you guys said that, because I can relate to that. So many of us can relate to that. It's such a relatable, as unique as your story is, it's also just as a mother, so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah. And I find that it's really interesting that dad guilt isn't even a phrase. It doesn't even exist.
No.
I've never even thought about that. You're so right.
Because they don't think the way that we do at all. They only have space for like, did I shit today? Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. Like, we got everything going a million miles a minute all the time. And it's like, I got to be good at this. I have to be good at this. I have to provide this, So yeah, the dad guilt does not exist.
I say this all the time and about that book, and I've read that book, Untamed. It's a wonderful book, and like her message it resonates so much. But I've always wanted my daughter to see me be loved, right? I didn't grow up that way. I've always wanted her to see me be loved, because then her expectation in the world is an example of what that looks like. And if I stay somewhere where that's not really happening, but we're staying together because we're supposed to stay together, she's receiving the entirely wrong message of what like love looks like. So even if it's going to be me and not my ex-husband, and now me and my partner, right? Hopefully she sees love. So hopefully your children, right, are witnessing authentic love.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer here. Our
Yeah.
kids hadn't even seen their parents be affectionate in their previous marriages, and now it's just the cutest thing. I mean, the 7 of them gave themselves the name the Rainbow Squad, and so they have like squad goals. Like for real, they're so tight. And at the dinner table, we're in the kitchen like kissing or grabbing each other's asses, and they're like, "Ew, mom," but they secretly like it, and it's so cute, to give them that, to expose them to that.
100%. I mean, every time like I'm affectionate in front of Frankie and she goes, ew, I'm like, this is important though for you to see.
Totally.
I was just going to say, I commend you both though for doing something so brave, because when you're in the confines of such a strict religion and upbringing, so many people are still in things that they know are not right for them because of what is surrounding them and how they grew up. So I know that this is going to resonate with a lot of people that might be in things that, they can't get out of because of religion, because of family. So what you guys did was a very, I'm sure, terrifying thing to do, to walk away from, but you did it, and look where your lives are now.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The feeling of judgment, I'm not gonna lie, it did make me question myself a lot. Like I was constantly going down this rabbit hole of, am I a good person? Is this okay? Am I selfish? Was this the wrong choice? Because the pressures are super heavy and the judgment was intense. And coming back to that knowing, just the feeling of considering not following my truth was
Mhm.
worse than the pain of the judgment and the questioning. So
Yeah.
I just knew that this was who I was, and the misery of living a lie the rest of my life was the overwhelming, feeling that motivated me to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, because ultimately that trickles down to your children too, because they see that you weren't happy and you lived a lie, basically, if you would have kept doing that.
And it would have been worse. It would have been so much worse as if I already knew, because I didn't consciously know I was queer until I fell in love with Lena. I knew I was getting to that point, I was kind of like
Yeah.
allowing myself to be, but I can't imagine knowing that I was queer and like
Yeah.
not attracted to men and staying married to a man. That would
Yeah.
have just been like, honestly, just pure self-betrayal,
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
What's so interesting is my childhood was the flip of it. And I can tell you, as a child who saw that, like my mother married a woman she raised me with a woman, but was not gay.
Oh,
So it
wow.
was complete flip, and did it for security of our family, right? For whatever reasons, a mom does things to take care of her children for 15 years. And so I never saw like love. I saw
Mm.
just this marriage. So I know what it's like to come out of that into an adult that then goes into relationships and be like, that was not, what was that?
Fascinating.
That is so interesting.
So I just totally, when I see you guys do that, I'm telling you that as a child who grew up and watched that, in the flip of it, if you're not living in your truth, it affects the kid like massively.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the next question is, what hurdles, if any, obviously there were some, I would assume, have you guys encountered when you were in the mental like shift of this? So when you guys were like, I'm going to move, I feel this, we're going to like explore this. Explain a little bit about the challenges that looked like for you.
I think for me, it was like, how do I stay in line with my own intuition? How do I come back every day to that space in my body that feels real and authentic to myself? Because the whole world is telling me that this isn't the right choice and I shouldn't be doing this. And if I do this, these things, this long laundry list of things is going to happen to my children, and I'm doomed and going to hell. And so for me, it was like just a body check every day, coming back to that intuition and feeling. I always kind of explain it in our, like, with our clients and retreats and stuff, is like, it's a feeling of being pulled towards something versus fear, where the fear would build up inside of me and almost like bubble to the top. It was a feeling of dis-ease and unease and frustration and feeling like I had to push something. And that would have been the feeling of staying versus being pulled toward what felt so right and so real. And it was like she said, I would have taken all of the hard just to be in this relationship and to live authentically as myself, free from the bonds of, other people's obligations and expectations of me.
Yeah.
For me, that is for sure that was the hardest part. The divorce with my husband was really gut-wrenching. We didn't expect this to happen, and I thought things were going to go differently with him. And so experiencing his pain and the way that he ended up processing it was by far the hardest part for me. I just didn't see it going that way. And things are getting better now, but it's been 4.5 years. So that was, it was simultaneously the worst time in my life and the best time in my life at the exact same time. It was devastating, heartbreaking, gut wrenching, so many things, and also beautiful. Like, I was falling in love. I was experiencing my sexuality. I was like on the love drug.
Yeah,
And
liberating.
like just feeling like myself for the first time ever. And
it was literally like, oh my God, music makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I literally was like, music in movies is such bullshit. People have made up this love stuff. This is not real and it doesn't exist. And then I fall in love at 37 and I'm like, oh my God, I would fight a war for you.
Oh,
Like, it was just like a total shift, I got it. I figured it out.
It clicked. It
Yeah.
was like, yeah. I mean, how can you look at something like a love story on television if you're not living in it? You don't feel it. You don't understand it. So of course it's going to look like this is all bullshit, right? Until you've actually stepped into that. And imagine so many people listening and so many women right now in relationships, or so many people still not out, people I know, people that are struggling. They don't know what that feels like, right? They can't know yet because their only identity of love is it's like a, I don't want to say a false love because it's love, right? It's not a false love, but it's not their truth. So they can't, you don't know until you know.
It felt like a really close friend or sibling or something where you're emotionally connected and care about each other
and you love them,
raising a family together.
Yeah.
But that romantic side, it really affects everything. And I know it's better for both of us this way. But it's not an easy road. And I got married barely after I turned 20. So we grew up together. We were codependent for sure. So to learn how to be your own person when you have little kids and you're trying to co-parent, you're trying to, be your best self and heal and try to make money. And oh man, it's just so super overwhelming, the logistics of it all. I mean, our kids, when we did this, they were 2, 4, 4, 6, 6, 6, and 8. Those were the ages when we moved in together.
Yeah.
We were certainly high on love because...
Well, first of all, I just want to say, aside from your amazingly inspiring journey to one another, just you naming those kids and reminding me of how many you have, I need to just like bow down to you guys as moms. I have one.
Thank you.
One, and I'm going gray.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys are like in love and happy with each other. Plus, you have this many children. You are definitely on a love drug. You're 100% on
really
a
love each other.
I know. Yeah, I see that too. Like, I look back at it, because that initial time we're still in love, but we're not as high as we were. Yeah. And so
we've landed now.
Looking back on it,
new energy love has come down.
Yeah. When I look back on it, I'm just like, wow, we are fucking amazing. Like, we got through that hard time. They're a little older and they're all in school now, so we have a little more room to breathe. And so I'm just really proud of us that we were able to navigate that.
It's crazy to think of all the things we were able to do with them and where they are now. It's nuts.
Yeah, that is definitely intense. But my next question, Sal, you've touched a bit on the impact it had with your ex-husband, and Lena, from the episode I watched today, your relationship was the opposite. Like, the impact with your ex-husband seems to be like a lot more co-parenting, and so it seems like, even though it seemed very heartbreaking, it was heartbreaking for him, he's like accepted it seems, and wanted to be a part of the family. But also, I'm curious, with you saying that you guys did this when your kids were those ages, how did it impact your kids at that time when you were doing that? Did it have an effect on them? Did they notice? I'm curious.
I mean, I think in the beginning, change is always hard. And my therapist at the time had recommended that I talk to each child separately at their developmental levels and then just allow them to ask questions. And they had already loved Sal and her kids. And so it was exciting, all the new change. And then when the dust settles and they realize, like, oh, I have 2 separate houses and 2 separate, Christmases or whatever, all the things that come with divorce, there have been some really big challenges along the way, but I love that it kind of ebbs and flows with each kid. It's like not all 4 of my boys at one time are melting down. It's like they choose in different seasons who's having a hard, moment that they're pushing through, and I can show up for them. And I have fallen on my face a million times and gotten it wrong, but I love that I can talk to them and communicate, mom's human, and I can apologize and we come together and work through things. And
Also with Paul.
yeah, and my ex and I, we show up for each other throughout this whole process in parenting, because we've decided from the beginning that our kids didn't choose this, and so we don't want them to suffer, and we're trying not necessarily to save them from the pain, but to allow them to live a life that's meant for a kid, where they can be free and have fun and be careless, but also know that they're supported by 2 like conscious humans,
Yeah, Paul
He's a divorce mediator, and that helps too. But
Oh,
I think that something that is really interesting to think about is, like, he and I have had this type of connection since the beginning, because I think it was really revelatory for him. My sexuality and coming out was a healing process for him to recognize that it wasn't his fault, that the problems we had in our marriage and the disconnect emotionally and physically wasn't something that he had done wrong.
I think that's so beautiful that you just said that. Like, I didn't even that's so beautiful, because we all are on this journey of healing, right? All of us, like your ex-husbands as well. And you were a part of that for a reason. It happened for both, right? For both people to figure things out. And we forget, like, there's that other side that's also going through and navigating what that feels like. My first husband, I met in the church, and we divorced because month into it, he was saying the devil was convincing him he was gay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that whole journey as well, where you're like there to kind of walk people
Yeah. Wow.
to where they need to, like, where they're supposed to be, and that you're on this journey together. I think that's amazing that you guys have made space for both parties here healing. And I always say, like, whenever parents are like at war with each other, like, you want to love the kid more than you hate your partner, right? Like, more than you hate the situation.
Absolutely. Lena and Paul both grew up in families that had divorced parents. And so they wanted to, do the best for their kids and not have to go through the pain that they did as kids. And I think that hugely affected, their choices. And everybody heals in different ways. Everybody handles things in different ways. And I'm thankful that, we've had the chance to parent with him and to have him on our team. He's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is hard. It's hard for everyone. And there's like making space for everybody to do it their own way, right? And every family to do it their own way, and for it to look however it's supposed to look for each person. And we have to stop deciding.
Yeah.
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 We just stop deciding how people are supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, the divorce really allowed me to see what I'm made of. Like, how much compassion can I have? How many times can I choose love over biting back and being mean? And how can I put my kids first? And it made me a more conscious parent, a more present parent, a more loving parent, a more affectionate parent. Like, there were so many gifts in parenting from divorce. It's kind of crazy, and I didn't expect that. And I also just, I learned that I only have control of myself, and then as long as I'm choosing my highest self in every interaction, that I let go of control of the other person's decisions and how they show up, and that's not on me. And I can sleep well at night knowing I'm doing what I can, and I'm doing I have so much to give my kids, and that's what I choose to do when I have time with them. And then when we're with him, I have to let it be what it is. And they're on this earth having a dad and a mom, and I'm not in charge of what of how this affects them with him. I can only control my side of it. So that's been a huge point of growth for me, and something I'm thankful that I've been able to grow through. Not fun all the time, but definitely a healing, growing situation.
I think you speak to every woman and mom and dad who's been in a divorce situation. You're so right when you say it just challenges you in a new way and really shows what you are made of. I feel the exact same way. My next question would be, what are your fears? Do you guys still have fears? Did you have fears then? And do you still have fears with surrendering this and, doing your life for you guys?
I feel like Sal would be better to answer this one because I'm definitely more of the person in the relationship who like trusts and has a lot of like hope and understanding and belief, and I just like to surrender to the universe.
Oh sure. Throw me under the bus here, babe.
I feel like it's okay for you to reveal this part of yourself to the EFFing podcast crew.
I already resonate with you, Sal. I'm just letting you know.
Lena wasn't raised in the Mormon church. I was raised in the Mormon church. So I definitely was, my intuition was stamped out as a young child. Like, no, you won't think for yourself. You're just going to get in line and do what the church tells you. And so it's taken me a little more effort to be able to trust myself and to look inside instead of going to outside validation and resources to be able to ground myself. But I feel like I'm in a really good spot now. And, I think my biggest, if I do have a fear, is if I can keep doing this. Like if I'm strong enough to hold this marriage together, to hold the family together, to be able to provide and help other people. And it's just a lot on my plate and her plate and everyone. I mean, just the pure logistics of having 2 ex-husbands and 7 kids is really difficult, and it's a lot to juggle. And so basically, my fear is just like, am I going to drop all the balls and eventually say, I cannot do this anymore? So I try to make sure, self-care is huge. Taking time to be together and by ourselves every day is really important. And it's just like getting down to the basics. But on my dark days, that's what I'm thinking.
I think that, the expectation, like you said, like just having your children and a marriage, right? And this love is already a huge responsibility in its own. But I know this as well, coming from putting my life publicly on reality television for so many years. You guys also took your story and have put it public. So you already have, and I know this, I know what that feels like. That's a huge leap to say, we're going to do this in our day-to-day life, but we're also going to share this where there's a huge expectation and opinions of so many people now.
True.
That are, and you can get lost in having to live for that on top of life already.
You're right.
It's a fine line that people don't understand unless they've shared it like you guys, because everyone's looking.
Oh yeah. I just Google, like sometimes I'm like, I take the shortcut in getting to our website, and I'll accidentally like type in like Sally and Google fills in like, are they still together? Like
always.
It's just crazy to me how
we would disappoint a lot of people, and that's it's a lot. Yeah, it is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a big responsibility. And I think it again, like you said, with divorce, how you are presented with a new strength. There's a new strength that comes, at least for me, when you've put it out there like that, but you're still okay with following your truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to have some thick skin.
Yeah,
you do.
And everyone,
like you do.
Everyone has an opinion about, her ex and my relationship with him, and all the different nuances of the show that came across, how the producers wanted it to. And so it's interesting to then be on the other side of that. And within 3 months after the show came out, he and I like became friends, and he, spends a lot more time with us than he used to. And all of our relationships have improved dramatically.
We need a season 2.
The show came out. So
if anyone's ready,
had a season 2. Don't you have a season 2 coming?
We don't.
Oh.
Yeah, we can't go into detail about that, but we didn't end up with it.
But we
Yeah.
want to do something else.
Yeah.
So just putting that out there, hit us up. I think that it has been a really good practice to say I don't give a fuck what people think, because it's like if you give a fuck, you're gonna be torturing yourself.
Okay, everybody, we are back. Sorry for that. We had a technical difficulty, and that's something that happens in this podcasting life, and we've never seen that one before. So, Carla and I, at the end of this episode with Sal and Lena, we were just talking to ourselves. And
Yeah.
so we had to find time for all of us to get back together so we could finish this beautiful episode with our last question. So thank you both for coming back on. We know how busy you are. We were grateful to have you in the first place, and then we lost you. And Carla and I were just like, it was like, no.
Yeah, we were like, oh
It's
my
happened
We were
to
just like,
us.
no.
We get it. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I figured you guys would understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys
Definitely.
understand this. So it was like, that was such good content, and it was such a good
Yeah.
interview, and then it was gone.
Dang it.
So
Yeah.
we're going to jump right back in. So Carla, take it
Okay.
away.
Yes. So the next question is, what were your emotions after having this EFFing moment of, after you guys decided that you loved each other and needed to leave the spouses that you were with? Like, what were those emotions that you were going through?
Yeah, it was simultaneously the most exciting moment and the most devastating moment that I've felt. It was weird to feel the highest of highs and the lowest of lows all at the same time, because I was so excited to be discovering what true love felt like, and my sexuality and everything in my 30s, which is a long time to wait to figure that out. And the feelings we had were so strong, and simultaneously knowing that I had to change my life and break somebody's heart that I cared about, and also like rearrange the family. And I never expected to be a divorced parent. That's not something that was in my realm of possibility in my life that I had ever even considered. I didn't know that was the path. I didn't even know people. I knew people did that, but none of my friends' parents were divorced, so it was really devastating in that way to have my life look so different than what I expected it to look like. It was scary.
I mean, not only was it different though, because you were now with a woman, right? There's already the identity of like, you're this, but now you're also someone getting a divorce in a community that doesn't do that. It's like
Yeah.
a double.
Totally. Yeah, I was not doing the popular things for sure. And I knew that I would have a lot of people talking about me, and a lot of pushback and a lot of questioning and all those things. And that's not necessarily anything that I cared about that much. I mean, I cared about like my main people, like my parents and my partner at the time. And I could handle the judgment from other people, but when the people that are closest to you question you, who know you the best, who you feel like you know the best, that's where my my rock bottom, like, or dark night of the soul, I would say, like, who am I? Am I a good person? Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, it was really a mind fuck for me, like, because that did happen. Like, that did happen.
Yeah.
And no fault to them. It's just that, like, I don't know, it kind of brings out everybody's dark, deep wounds, and they reflect that back on you, and it's really hard.
I was just going to say, Sal, sometimes when those friends, and I've learned this too, or those people, like the ones that judge you the most that are close to you, and not in every case, but a lot of times you're stirring up something in them that they can't do within themselves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I get that.
And that might be challenging, and you being so fearless and brave and moving in a truth. A lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's true. Yeah, I came across a ton of that. And also, like, people had to let go of control, like, we have big ripple effects when we make a decision, but they couldn't stop me. And it's like, they didn't want this to happen, but also they couldn't stop it from happening. And yet we try to do everything we can to stop things from happening, even like things that are not kind, or
Yeah.
that make people
Yeah.
feel like you don't see them and you don't care about them. You know, it's a weird thing, but I understand, and it wasn't easy for anyone involved.
Lena, how were you with it?
I think early on, I just learned that it wasn't my job to hold space for other people while they were processing my life choices. Like, I didn't need to create any kind of environment for someone else to be like, for them to digest my experience. I was really protective of my family and our energy, and kind of like the chapter in Glennon Doyle's Untamed called Islands. Like, we just created this island around us that we only let people on and off this island that we could fully
Yes.
like trust, and that we knew without a shadow of a doubt didn't have inherent homophobia or intrinsic feelings of like misogyny. Like, it was just something that felt so so real and raw and unique. And it was, I don't know, I just like take myself back to that time, and I am so thankful that I wasn't open to other people, because I can't imagine having made those kind of strides that I did if I had listened or been even open to the energy of other people while I was going through all of this, you know?
I was gonna ask Sal, is when you were talking about the people that you had to deal with this change and all of that, did they come around ultimately,
Yeah,
or has it still
for
okay?
sure. Yeah,
Okay,
the
good.
people that and yeah, they all have, and that's great, and that's great. And I expected that, and I kind of felt that in my heart, like, this will take time, but they will understand eventually, and they will see. And I had to be patient. I had to, that first Thanksgiving with Lena instead of Shane, my ex-husband, it was awkward for everyone, right? And people don't know how to act, and it's raw. And my little brother had just returned from an LDS mission, and it's like, it was real. And he came home. He was gone for 2 years, and he came home to her instead of the other guy. So everybody was just had to adjust to a new thing. And my ex-husband didn't do well for a long time. And her ex-husband was able to be on board much sooner. And so you never know how people are going to process things, and you kind of just have to ride it out and learn how to like take the high road every time, because I wanted to live in my integrity, and I didn't want to have regrets, and I wanted to mitigate the pain for my children. And I'm really like, I'm proud of myself for most of the things and the ways that I've handled it, and I've kind of just had to learn as I go.
Yeah.
I love what Lena said about the island. I think that's a really beautiful way to like see that. And so thank you for saying that, where it's like they're off the island, who's on the island. And it's kind of interesting with what you're saying. So some people leave the island for some seasons and they find their way back.
Right.
And that's okay if that happens. Like sometimes they're not on your island and maybe they'll be back, right?
Totally.
Like, but for
Yeah.
that moment, they're not on it. So I've experienced that as well in life. And like just normalizing that. It's okay. There's boundaries.
Yeah.
It's okay, guys.
I was just going to say that I think we need to normalize that friendships do end, because for me, I joined the church, so I was a convert. So my like church family was all friends. And many of them, like, they just won't get invited back on the island, and that's okay. And
that's okay.
have totally accepted that, and I honor where they are, and I don't want to judge them for not leaving an organization that like persecutes people and marginalizes our
Of
community.
course it's hurtful.
It does hurt.
Of
I
course.
mean, undeniably it's gonna hurt. It stings. Especially when I like look at old photos, or even like Instagram from just a couple years ago. It's crazy to me how many people just have had no ability to process my life, and like it's bizarre to me. But I also am okay with it, and I've just had to be.
It's not about you, babe.
Yeah, and I
No,
had
and
to
you know what?
learn
That's
that.
for
all about them.
That's not about you, and that's for so many anyone listening who's feeling like an outcast right now, or identifying and finding your truth and having family members or friends. It's not about you. get them off the island. It's okay. Like, it's okay. You know, I have family members that are hardcore anti-gay, and they make it very clear on their post every day. And at some point in my journey, right, and I'm sure I had to block them, but with love.
Yeah.
You're not on the island right now,
Bless
right?
their
But
hearts.
bless their heart. Exactly. Bless your heart.
Using
May
their
the force
thing.
be with you.
Yeah. But there's nothing that you could do that's going to change your mind.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Totally.
So you just have to live your life and be happy.
Yes.
It's like nothing to do with you.
Nope.
Yeah.
All right. This is going to go into my last question, and it would be for both of you to answer of what would you tell your past self, like prior to now being in this? Like, what would you go back and tell yourself when you guys were making this big move? What would be your advice to yourself?
Whew. Lean. Okay, I'll go. I would say that it gets way better. Like, this is not permanent, and that you will be able to develop the skills that you need to handle all the hard situations. And it's worth it. Don't give up. You're a good person. Don't believe the haters. You know, just be my own cheerleader, really, because it's not like there's nothing to like necessarily save you from all the pain. And you know, it's hard to think about myself at that point because I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know how hard it was going to be, and I also didn't know how beautiful it was going to be either. It's been really incredibly like just I've had experiences I could have never dreamed of having before, you know? And I'm really thankful, and I would just like be that older sister type, you know, person that's just like, you're fucking amazing and you got this and don't ever forget it, you know?
When you push through the fear, you don't know what's on the other side, right? Like you don't know
Yeah.
what's going to come when you push through that. That's kind of the beauty in it.
Yeah.
at
It
times.
sounds very bittersweet. Like
Mhm.
it's very hard, but very beautiful at the same time.
Yeah. I think for me, it was just, there was so much freedom in letting go of the rigidity of religion and living in a box that like the freedom is on the other side of discomfort. And to just remind myself that anytime it gets hard, that I wanted this. I want to feel free. I want to be able to just like be as close to my highest self as I possibly can for more minutes of my day. And that I can tolerate the discomfort and move through hard things and not have to have all the answers like laid out for me, you know?
Freedom through the discomfort is such a beautiful way of saying it. Like you really do. If you work through that discomfort, you really do get to the other side, but you just have to get through that.
Yeah.
Carla and I were just talking about this before we got on today. We were talking about like pushing through discomfort, breathing through discomfort in life, and like what we're capable of.
Yeah, it fucking sucks, but like at the end of it, it's beautiful when you're
Yeah,
able to
it
get
is.
to that point and you do feel a sense of just weight, lifted clarity, freedom. So that is a beautiful
It
message.
was like a really long cold plunge.
Yeah.
I was just saying
How funny,
I
we were
did a
just
cold
talking about that.
plunge. I go, I did a 3-minute cold plunge and I'm in this breathing class and it's teaching me like what my body is capable of like breathing through and like the pain. It's like a physical way of teaching me just about life
Yeah.
and how I can breathe through it and then like how good you feel after.
Yeah, you're like, I did that.
I did. You feel powerful. You feel strong. And like, not only in our physical ways of doing that. And I think the same, Lena, what you said, like your higher self, like you don't know what's on that other side. You don't know how you're going to feel unless you do it.
Totally.
You can't reach that level. You can't reach it unless you go there. And a lot of people are afraid. It's scary. So they don't get there.
Yep. And we have those blocks. I mean, it is
it's
like
scary.
you're gonna die. Like you're about to end your life. Like it's like, oh my gosh. And I'm like really good at pushing myself physically. I've always been that way and I love it. I love like feeling the pain and pushing through it. It's like
Both of us.
it's a real it's just comes naturally to me, and doing it in a different way, it's nice to lean on that, but it's also way harder for me. It's like way harder in a you know, learning how to do that emotionally. But also like the rewards are the rewards are incredible. And I feel like that's really what life's about, is like learning how to sit with discomfort and get through it and grow and evolve. It's like, what else are we doing if we're not doing that?
Yeah, we're not living if we're not.
I mean, could you imagine going like it's done? Yeah, you imagine when it's done and it's like we just played it safe the entire time and never reached
That's
those
lame.
spaces that we could be at. That's lame.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, we are so grateful. This is the end. Please tell everybody where they can follow your journey. Where are you on Hulu? What are your Instagrams? Share all the things you guys are doing.
First, we want to just share that if you would like more of our story and want to know all the deets and see our wedding, you can watch our Hulu docuseries called Mormon No More. And we just released last Friday our course, which has been like a baby that we've birthed. We feel so proud of this project. And it touches on 6 really key components for people who are deconditioning from religion or just trying to find themselves later in life. And you can find that on sallyandlena.com. Sal on Instagram is Coming Out Coach, and I'm Lena_Osborne. We love you guys. Thank you so much for having us. Listen to our podcast too. It's called Peace Out.
Yes. What's your podcast and where can they listen to it?
Peace Out, and you can stream it anywhere.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for having us. We love you guys.
We did it. Okay, this is where we say
just F it.